Hi everyone, and welcome to part 3 and the final reveal of my Hasegawa's MK44 Ammonite in 1/20th scale. As you can see, all the weathering and pigment work has now been done. So if you'd like to pull up a chair, we'll have a look at all the techniques that we used to create this look. Let's do some modelling. So first of all, I applied my own filter using Windsor and Newton oil raw umber, mixing it all up into a small pot using 9 parts thinner to 1 part oil, and then just liberally brushing it all over the model, making sure to take off any excess and stirring as you go to make sure none of the oil's at the bottom of the pot. So first of all, I wanted to improve the feet, looking to add sort of mud pigments and earth effects, and also would add some grease and grime to the inside as well. So getting a piece of cardboard, I've added some of my oils from lights to darks, and then grey with some earth tones down the side as well. And I have a little bit of cling film at the bottom to allow any mixing of colours not to soak into the cardboard but last a bit longer, and using thinners to clean brushes and to do mixing. As far as the brushes go, we have blending brushes, 2 of those, and then we have a streaking brush, and then we have a couple of round brushes, which will probably probably be their last build. I need to replace those now. And as far as the oils, use Windsor and Newton's, and I use Abteilung's 501 or 502. So first of all, just moisten the brush in some thinner, and then we'll get some of the dark tones, Van Dyke Brown, raw umber. And what we're aiming to do is to add just a small amount of oil. The thickness of the oil will depend on the opacity of the final look. So the thinner it is, the lighter the colour is going to be. So with a little bit of dirt colour at the top, it's just a matter of getting the blending brush and just blending that out until you're happy with the actual look itself. And just keep repeating this process all around the upper lip, so you get the impression of dirt along the top rim of the slipper. And there we go. That's quite an effective look. And then just to add a little bit of detailing, we'll just streak that down while it's still moist as well. And then that will dry back nicely with the streak effects. Next, what we want to do is to add some dirt and earth tones to the actual bottom of the slipper, because my ammonite's been trudging through the dirt and the snow. So using the darkest of the earth, again we add a nearly neat consistency of oil along the bottom. So because it is nearly neat, a very small amount needs to be added. And again, we'll just blend that out. Now, because I use very little thinner while I'm doing this process, and I'm not swamping the surface, it does allow me to carry on and do other colours at the same time. Because this oil is drying out quite quickly. So now what I've done is come up with a light mud, and again I'm able to blend that in with the darker mud that I've just put on. And because these are snow slippers, I just wanted to re-highlight that fact. So what I actually did was to get a couple of the white oils there and add those in as well to highlight and give the impression of a little bit of snow in there as well. If you do feel that you got a little bit too much thinner on there, feel free to always use a hairdryer just to dry out the surface a little bit while doing this process. And there we have it. So this is before the oils were added, and this is the look now. As you can see, another layer adds a lot of depth to the parts. What I'm now doing is concentrating on the inside. Here I put a dust wash on, and once done, any that needs blending in you can quite easily do with a moist brush. And I also added some engine oil onto the top of the metal parts as well, to add that effect of dirt and grime. And the final layer is to add some of Vallejo's black pigments, and that was put on with an old brush. And then to actually seal that in place, it's just a simple effect of doing some speckling using oils. So with the brush loaded up with thinner and oil, it's just a matter of using the back of the blade and just covering the area, and that will seal it all in, all the pigment in. The actual foot itself, I used a light grey tone, which came out really nice. And then again I used engine oil and Van Dyke brown just to add the shadow effects, and as you can see, that's very effective. What I do need to now do though is to try and make some of those lines very thick looking with grease and grime. So just mix up some dark pigments using Pigment Fixer until you get yourself a nice paste, and then using a very old brush get it all mixed in together. And then what you can do, you can apply this to the joins and anywhere else where you think dirt and grime is going to gather, and then just use a makeup pad just to flatten it all out and clean it all up with a brush if needed. And then what I did was got a load of sepia on the brush, and then very thickly applied that. As you can see, that was a little bit too thick, so again thin it down until you're happy with the consistency. And then once that's done, use the hairdryer or leave it just to wait a little while for it to dry, and then go back and clean that all up. And there we have it, the feet all done. There's still a couple more layers to do with speckling, but this gives you an idea of the effects that you can achieve. I was really pleased with how they all turned out. Now the feet, obviously the slippers are done, and now we're going to work further up the legs. It's just a simple matter of using your palette of oils and start creating different tonal work, shading work. Just to let your imagination run wild. Here I added some varnish onto the engine oil just to give it that wet look, and that's come out really nicely. You can also see that I've done a lot of speckling work as well, and that sort of combines the slipper with the lower part of the leg and gives you that continuity. A lot of grease marks there, some rust tones in on the yellow and black stripes. As far as the upper leg goes, I wanted that contrast of dirt at the bottom, slightly cleaner at the top, so I didn't do so much dirt work on the upper leg. And like I say, there's a real nice contrast between the two halves now. So that's the legs done, and now it's just a matter of working up now to the main body. As you can see, the oil palette is increasing with different colours. Here I've added on some greens so that I can do the back fuel tank. It's really just a matter of adding as much tonal work and shading and colouring as you possibly can. All about adding on layers. And again, it's a very simple process of just putting in the tones where you think they'd be the most effective, and then just brushing out. And again, making sure that you use very little thinner, and that will allow you to carry on doing different work on the same piece. So the underneath, that was given all the speckling effects in the usual manner. Very pleased with how that turned out. However, the actual fuel tank will actually sit like that, so that's how that's going to be looking on the back there. So obviously less dirt mark there, but again, really pleased how that's all turned out. And that's it in place, and I think that gives a lovely contrast to the rest of the model. So the main part, as you can see, I've got a production line going because I do continually move backwards and forwards from parts when I feel that I want to improve or to add some more layers. The main body here, this is all the shading and shadow work's now been done. So now that it's dark, I'll start to try and lighten that part up a bit. As we've already seen, the board has now been completely filled with different colours. Got the oranges and the reds and yellows in there now. The feet, as we saw earlier, have all been completed now. All using the same techniques of going dark and then lightening up with the oils and the speckling effects. And again, there's the rear fuel tank. I was really pleased with how the upper legs came out. Lots of detail in that you can see close up. Now all the shields, I'm halfway through these. You may remember this was the blue one at the top. Wasn't very pleased with how that looked, so I completely repainted that, and it looks a lot better now. I started to do some streaking work here on the orange ones. I love these hands. I think they're lovely. I'm going to keep these as clean as possible. So just a little bit of shading work needed there. And the actual gun itself, again, this is going to be kept fairly clean. It will just be shadow work using the raw umbers and siennas. And as it's turned out, that's been a very effective way of just adding a little bit of depth and colour to this particular part of the model. So with all those metallics, they're still clearly seen, and that's produced a very effective cannon for the ammo knight to use. I decided to use some pigment work on the arms, dark at the top, light at the bottom, but what I have done is kept contrast of no pigment or work at all on the hands, so you have the cleaner look contrasting with the dirty upper arm, and I think that's come out really well. Very pleased. Again, the pigments, it's just dust pigments added on with a brush and then held into place with thinner, and obviously the splatter marks on top as well. And just to finish off, what I've done on most of the edges is gone around with graphite pencil to give that metallic final look. The rear shield, that's all now been finished off with some rust tones and some speckle effects. And the orange shields, similar fashion as well. I'm really pleased with how they've all come out. And you can really see the effectiveness of all that hard work during the building stage to get all that rough texture. And that's now come to the fore. A little bit of lead work again on the rivets to improve the look. The main part of the body, that's all coming to an end now. I've done some dust work a little bit on the front. There was the temptation to do it over the whole of the body, but I was so pleased with the way it was looking, I just didn't want to do any further weathering on it. And that's one of the key parts of any building. When you're happy with the look, don't keep adding more layers. Just leave it as, because more often than not you'll make it look worse. So once you're happy, just leave it be and move on to another part and carry on weathering with that instead. The front, that had different layers of oils added as and when I was doing other areas. And again, it's just trying to build up layers, build up depth, and different areas of the model will catch people's eye. As you'll see from the close-up photos at the end, there's so much detail in there from the layering process, and that's where the satisfaction comes from, all the time taken doing the oil and the pigment work. Again, the back, that was used with rust oils as well. And all in all, it's come out very, very effective. Very pleased with how that's looking. So what with most of the oil work done now, it's just a matter of putting all the bits back together. And once they were all together, it was just a matter of doing final touches here and there until I was happy with the final look. Even though a great deal won't be seen underneath, you never know what the viewer can see, so it's always worth putting some speckling effects and dust work in the areas that are hard to see. As far as the springs go, I had to take those off because they were forever getting in the way. So I painted them up and did all the oil and dust work separately, and then I reattached them. Just a little note of warning, don't glue them at the top because then you have the flexibility for the figure still to move. And as you can see there, they've come out really well. So there we have it. That's the whole model put together now. I've had a great deal of fun with this build, primarily because I can do what I want. I don't have to worry about historical accuracy. I don't have to worry about whether the rivet's in the right place or not. I can just let the creative juices flow, and it's been a lot of fun, and really looking forward to doing another one next year. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you've enjoyed the build as well. Just like to say thank you very much indeed for the continued support of all of my subscribers, and happy modelling.